Thank you. Wow, what a pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for the invite to come and talk. What a big leap we've got to go through. So, hands up who thinks this is the most exciting industry to be in right now. Yeah, we've got some serious change to go through. So, one thing to take away from today, a little moral contract between myself and yourself. Go and tell people about it. We have an image problem. I may also get caught out with the acronym bingo this afternoon. But can we just go and tell some people that we're doing exciting things here? We're doing it digitally. We're using technology. We're doing exciting stuff. And we're going to change some stuff over the next decade. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. So, transforming infrastructure performance. Sounds like an easy task. So what do I mean by transformation? And what do I mean by change? We've heard those two words quite a bit today. Change is very incremental. So if you look from left to right, probably the right-hand end is the change aspect. But we've got to go from the left-hand side all the way to the other end from a transformation perspective as an industry. It's government's role, probably, to get to that first sign of that butterfly appearing. It's up to industry, from a commercial perspective, to take that opportunity, grab it with both hands, and make this a high-performing sector. I don't expect you to be able to read any of those names, but if you can, these are the number of organisations as a UK government we have to speak to essentially affect anything. Your view is not their view. So who do we speak to? We've got low margins. We can't afford to do R&D. Why should we change? We have a quality and a reputation that's rock bottom. I don't need to describe the lack of productivity in the sector by comparison to other sectors. But the quality aspect, we all have responsibility for. There is now no excuse to be doing anything other than having that transparency and accountability in the way we deliver. On a lighter note, it's a significant part of our economy in the UK, 6 to 8% of our GDP. That's probably about the same for most of the countries that are sat here in the audience today, somewhere in that region. It's about 10% of the workforce. That's a significant amount of people that work in that sector. Currently today, that stands at about 8%. In 2015, the Treasury released a document, National Infrastructure Plan for Skills. Based on the pipeline at that point in time of our projected programme of projects in the forward period, we required somewhere in the region of an additional 250,000 people in the sector to deliver our pipeline, either new or to be retrained to meet that objective. That was using traditional delivery models. Our pipeline at the end of 2017 stood at £600 billion for the next decade. That's £600 billion worth of projects. That's £600 billion as an opportunity to affect some change in the UK market. So if we want to affect some change, we've got to decide what we value. The UK government's been very successful through its first government construction strategy at reducing the capital cost of the delivery of construction. Central government departments reduced that capital cost by somewhere in the region of 12 to 20%. Transforming infrastructure performance is about whole life performance. So whilst we've been very good at the capital phase, we've not necessarily always ended up with the best performing assets in the operational phase. And we've already heard a lot today about the significant cost implication in the operational phase that we're not really thinking about when it comes to design and construction. So if we spend approximately £60 billion a year for the next decade? Should we ask for some change? Should we as a client, and we've heard a few comments about clients today and thinking about what they consider, should we support UK industry to effect a change? We led the way with BIM Level 2 in terms of the mandate that we set out in 2011 for 2016. The balloons came down, not a lot changed. We're setting a longer term vision here about transforming infrastructure performance and how digital, manufacturing, and whole life performance play a critical role. By enabling these technologies and applications, we can start to think differently about how we procure and the skills, capability, and capacity we require. So what's important to you? Is it to reduce carbon? Dag, fantastic presentation. I love the eco digital stuff. I'm a convert. Fantastic. Is it diversity and inclusion? I can't remember many female speakers today. I can't remember many from a diverse background. So going back to that moral contract, for you today, go and find that person who's going to come and work in this sector, bring their skills, bring their capability, and come and work in construction and infrastructure. Or is it mental health? In the UK, 75% of the suicides are men. Women in the audience say that's not a big problem. But construction is over 13, somewhere between 13 and 14% of those suicides are from construction-related jobs. We are putting people, from a mental health perspective, in physical danger if we don't start to adopt new ways of working that gives them the stability to operate in safe, consistent conditions. And we need to think about how we address many, many challenges beyond the three that I've mentioned and how we value those things. So we're taking the next step in our journey. BIM Level 2, not quite come and gone. Everyone's got to do the right thing. We've still got to get the standardization right, and we've still got to make that business as usual. But in the autumn 2017, we laid out a number of new initiatives and new strategies and policies which are very interconnected. Our UK industrial strategy, our budget announcement to a move to a presumption in favour of off-site manufacturing, our IPA Transforming Infrastructure Performance Programme, and the Transport Infrastructure Efficiency Strategy. Now, this is some serious bedtime reading. The industrial strategy on its own is 200 plus pages. We are reaching the 1% who care about these documents in that. I'm here to share with you some of our vision around transforming infrastructure performance, but just to make you aware that these are connected things. We are not doing this in isolation. We are not delivering this in silos. And it was a really important point that Matt made about getting connected, getting engaged with others. But we're now crossing the valley of death. This is my chief exec, Tony Meggs, lovely guy. This is his words. How do you go from strategy and policy into delivery and outcomes? I don't think the UK government is different to any other government in the sense that the capability and capacity actually sits with you people in the room, probably not in the client organisations sat within government departments. So we need to work very closely with you. We need to be clear and articulate what we require. And we need to work hard at the relationships and how we build them together with you. Because the capability and capacity, the stuff we've seen today, we just need to be able to scale this. So, transforming infrastructure performance. I'm going to talk about one key theme with this, but the 4 planks of this program are about benchmarking for better performance, alignment and integration, procurement for growth, and smarter infrastructure, which is the bit I'm going to talk to you about today. So, if we are going to spend that £60 billion a year, we need to understand who we are and where we sit in the world. So the IPA sit at the centre of government within the Cabinet Office, reporting to Cabinet Office and Treasury. And we're looking at these system level metrics from a benchmarking perspective. How do we improve productivity of the sector? But here's an example from education, which will give you an idea of the types of things we're thinking about at different stages of that benchmarking process. The one thing my role is trying to develop with that team is that I think there's another P here. It's not just system, network, asset, project. I think there is product. Because we need to get down to the granularity of the information we need to know to be able to build back up the commercial models that support our future. So, what are we doing about that smarter infrastructure? The majority of our projects are generally in the bottom left-hand box. Who doesn't love a Boston matrix? Here we go. Where we want to go is in the top right-hand corner, manufactured processes. We want bespoke solutions using a standard process, okay? Modular buildings would sit in the top left. Some of the component work would sit in the bottom right. But we want to get standard processes, repeatable buildings that we procure, and take some replication and benefit for that. We have a pipeline of schools to stand still in the UK, which is 400 per year for the next however many years. Yet we take no replication in the design of a school. Each procurement is generally quite individual, bespoke, and we get a bespoke outcome from a bespoke process. So we're looking at a platform approach to design for manufacture and assembly that supports that. How do we start to standardize the grid systems within multiple different government agencies where we have common platforms that support a multitude of different types of buildings and spaces? We need smarter procurement. Everyone talks a really good game about outcome-based procurement. But if my outcome from a policy perspective is to reduce reoffending rates in prisons, tell me how to contract for that, and we'll happily do it. So we need to move along that journey, move up the curve, think about how do we engage more from an integrated perspective, how do we work closer with supply chains, but get smarter. We need to increase the client capability. We don't want to just buy consultants forever and a day. We need your support. We need the industry to come with us. And we're opening our arms up to bring you in to work with us. But we need a smarter culture. The language has got to change. I've recently set up a modern methods of construction working group. That could mean anything to a lot of people. The language has got to change. Manufacturing of construction needs to be synonymous with quality in the same way that digital is synonymous with productivity. We need, as clients, to address our risk profile slightly differently. We cannot continue just to defer risk on the supply chain. We need to own responsibility for the standards, the digital objects, the specifications, the things that we do control, and engage the supply chain to bring those things together in the best possible way to bring our buildings to life and make the services and outcomes that operate in those facilities the right ones for the future. From a circular economy perspective, these things need to be cyclical. We need to support that vision. But there are three things that I think the next decade need to be addressed. Productivity and growth. Transparency and accountability. We heard quite a lot about that actually this morning. And it's interesting that digital is unlocking that transparency and that accountability. But we must do this securely, and we must do it with resilience in mind. We also heard about climate change in the last few days. How do we start to design buildings that are future-proofed for an Earth that is 1.5 to 3 degrees hotter in the next 20 years? So in summary, and probably quite philosophically, we're actually moving from a goods-based sector to a services and an experience-based sector. But that's quite a big leap. Technology and information is enabling the mass customization of construction. To be productive and become a fantastic export opportunity, should your country wish to exit a European Union, then you might consider this an opportunity. It must be digital first. That can still cross borders under the right agreement. So to be effective, we must be digital first. We must be online and offline digital. And if we get this right, then we can start to build a sector that we value, that we're proud to work in, that we know can be successful, that is successful. Everything in my life is digital. And from a consumer perspective, everything is on demand, except this sector. We have a fantastic opportunity through technologies like BIMobject and all the ecosystem of technologies that sits around that and the partners that sit in the room today to make a real difference. So please take that moral contract, go and tell someone we're going to make some change. Thank you very much.